Commander Lee Taman sat at his desk looking at a pile of reports that seemed to grow bigger every hour. The coffee in his mug had gone cold again, and he could not remember the last time he had eaten a proper meal. Outside the window of his office, on the United Earth Defense Station, Mars looked red and dusty as always. The planet spun slowly below them while Taman tried to figure out why the maintenance crew needed 17 different forms just to fix a broken toilet. Captain Park Min-ho walked into the office without knocking. This was normal because Min-ho never knocked on anything. He had a tablet in his hand and looked worried about something. Taman looked up from his paperwork and waited for Min-ho to speak. "Sir, we are getting some strange signals from the outer detection grid," Min-ho said. He put the tablet on Taman's desk and pointed at the screen. "Very big ships coming toward us. Really big ships." Taman picked up the tablet and looked at the readings. The numbers did not make sense. The ships were huge, bigger than anything humans had ever built. There were dozens of them moving in perfect formation toward the Mars Defense Station. Taman rubbed his eyes and looked at the screen again. The numbers stayed the same. "How long until they get here?" Taman asked. "About 6 hours if they keep the same speed," Min-ho said. "But sir, that is not the weird part. They are sending us a message, on all frequencies, in perfect English." Taman put down the tablet and looked at his friend. In 15 years of working together, Min-ho had never looked this confused. "What kind of message?" "You should probably listen to it yourself," Min-ho said. He pressed a button on his communicator. "Play message recording number 1. A voice filled the office. It was deep and rough, like someone gargling with rocks. The words were clear, but the accent was strange. "Humans of Earth. This is Warlord Krex of the Vorthak Empire. We have come to your system to claim it for our own. You have 72 hours to surrender completely. If you do not surrender, we will destroy every human in this system. Every man, woman, and child will die. Your cities will burn. Your ships will be broken. Your planet will become empty. You cannot fight us. You cannot hide from us. You can only surrender or die. This message will repeat until you respond." The message ended and the office became quiet again. Taman stared at the communicator for a moment. Then he looked at Min-ho. Then he looked back at his pile of paperwork. "Did they say 72 hours? Taman asked. "Yes, sir. 72 hours, Min-ho said. Taman picked up a pen and started writing on a form. "That is really bad timing. I have a dentist appointment on Monday, and my daughter has her school recital on Wednesday. Could we maybe do Tuesday instead?" Min-ho blinked several times. "Sir, I think you missed the part where they said they would kill everyone." "I heard that part," Taman said, still writing on the form. "Death for everyone is going to need a lot of paperwork. Do you know how many forms we need to fill out when someone dies? Now imagine that for 8 billion people, the processing alone would take months." "Sir, I do not think they care about our paperwork," Min-ho said. Taman looked up from his form. "Of course they care about paperwork. Everyone cares about paperwork. You cannot just kill 8 billion people without proper documentation. What if someone asks questions later? What if there is an audit?" Down the hall, Admiral Kim Nara was having her own meeting about the alien message. She sat in the main conference room with 12 other officers, all looking at the same data that Taman and Min-ho had seen. The ships were still coming. The message was still playing on repeat across all communication channels. "Options?" Nara asked the room. Colonel Shin Young-ho spoke first. "We could try to fight them. Our defense platforms have good weapons." "Against ships that big?" asked Captain Lee Sora. "We would need every ship in the fleet just to match one of theirs." "What about evacuation?" suggested Major Kim Dong-hae. "Get people off Earth and Mars. Find somewhere to hide." Nara shook her head. 8 billion people? Where would they go? And this Krex person said they would hunt us down anyway. The officers talked about different plans, but none of them seemed very good. They could fight and probably lose. They could run and probably get caught. They could surrender and hope the aliens were nice, but the message had not sounded very nice. "Admiral," said Captain Park Jimin from the communications department. Maybe we should just ask them some questions. What kind of questions? Nara asked. Well, they want us to surrender in 72 hours, Jimin said. But they did not say exactly when those 72 hours start. Is it from when they sent the message? From when we received it? From when we respond? These things matter for proper scheduling. Nara looked around the table. Half the officers were nodding like this made perfect sense. The other half looked confused. You want to ask the aliens about their scheduling? Major Kim Donghae asked. Why not? Nara said. If they want to destroy human civilization, they should at least be clear about the timeline. Captain Jimin, send them a message. Back on the Vorthak flagship, Warlord Krex sat on his command throne waiting for the humans to start begging for mercy. He had conquered 47 star systems using the same method. Send a scary message, wait for the crying and pleading to start, then accept surrender and move on to the next target. It worked every time. The humans should have responded by now. They should be sending messages about how sorry they were and how they would do anything to live. But his communication officer had not reported any responses yet. Still nothing from the humans? Krex asked. Actually, sir, we just got a message, said Communication Officer Grex. But it is unusual. Play it, Krex commanded. A human voice came through the speakers. It was calm and professional, like someone reading from a script. This is Admiral Kim Nara of the United Earth Defense Force. We received your message about surrendering or dying. We have some questions about the timeline. When you say 72 hours, do you mean from when you sent the message or from when we received it? Also, could we possibly move this to Tuesday? Monday is bad for several of our staff members, and Wednesday conflicts with some important personal commitments. Please advise on preferred scheduling. Thank you. The bridge of the Vorthak ship became completely silent. Krex stared at the communication panel. His officers stared at Krex. Nobody moved for almost a full minute. Did they just ask us to reschedule the apocalypse? Asked Navigation Officer Rex. I think they did, said Grex. Krex had never heard anything like this in his entire career of conquering planets. Usually by now the humans would be crying and begging and offering him their treasures. Instead, they were asking about scheduling conflicts and proper timeline documentation. Send the message again, Krex said. Maybe they did not understand. Sir, should I make it scarier? Asked Grex. Yes, make it much scarier, Krex said. The second message was longer and included more details about how the Vorthak would destroy human cities and burn their farms and make their children cry. Krex made sure to mention that resistance was impossible and that humans were weak and pathetic. The response came back 30 minutes later. This is Commander Lee Taman from Mars Defense Station. We got your second message. Thank you for the additional details. We will need those for our incident report forms. However, we still need clarification on the 72-hour deadline. Our legal department says the timer should start from when we officially acknowledge receipt of your ultimatum, not from when you sent it. Also, is Tuesday still possible? Our maintenance crew has that day free and they could help with the city burning if needed. They are very good at controlled demolitions. Please confirm. Krex looked around his bridge. His officers were all staring at him with expressions he had never seen before. They looked confused and worried and maybe a little scared. For the first time in his long career of conquering worlds, Warlord Krex of the mighty Vorthak Empire had no idea what to do next. Dr. Choi Hana had been working in the UN Death Processing Department for 12 years and thought she had seen everything. People died in all kinds of ways, and each death needed proper paperwork. Car accidents needed Form DP-401. Heart attacks needed Form DP-402. Deaths by falling coconuts needed the special Form DP-419C. But nobody had ever asked her to process 8 billion deaths at the same time. She sat in her office in Geneva looking at the message from the Vorthak Empire. The aliens wanted to kill everyone on Earth and Mars. This was definitely going to need some new forms. Jiwan, can you come in here? Hana called to her assistant. Secretary Yoon Jiwan walked into the office with a cup of coffee and a tablet full of daily schedules. She was very good at organizing things and never forgot important details. This was why Hana liked working with her. "Yes, Dr. Choi," Ji-won said. "We have a situation," Hana said. She turned her computer screen so Ji-won could see the alien message. "Some aliens want to kill everyone. I need you to prepare the paperwork." Ji-won read the message twice. Then she sat down in the chair across from Hana's desk and opened her tablet. "How many people exactly?" "All of them. 8 billion humans, plus however many are living on Mars and the space stations." "That is a lot of death certificates," Ji-won said. She started typing on her tablet. "Do we know the cause of death yet?" "The message says they will burn our cities and destroy our ships," Hana said. "So probably fire, explosion, or structural collapse. Maybe all three." "I will need to prepare multiple versions of the forms then," Ji-won said. "Do we have contact information for next of kin for 8 billion people?" Hana thought about this. Question. "No, but we can probably get it from the census department. They keep track of everyone." "Good. I will also need death certificates translated into every human language, and we should probably ask the aliens what format they prefer for the documentation." "Why would we ask them that?" "Well, if they are taking over Earth, they will need copies of all the death certificates for their records," Ji-won said. "It is only polite to ask what format works best for their filing system." Hana nodded. This made perfect sense. "Draft a message asking about their preferred documentation format. Also ask them if they need the certificates notarized." While Ji-won worked on the message, Hana started looking through her filing cabinets for the right forms. The standard death processing forms were designed for individual deaths. For mass casualties like earthquakes or hurricanes, there were special batch processing forms. But nothing existed for processing the death of an entire species. "I think we need to create new forms," Hana said. "What should we call them?" Ji-won asked. "Species Extinction Documentation Package," Hana said. "Form number XK9000 series." "Should I include a checklist of required supporting documents?" "Definitely. We will need proof of identity for each deceased person, medical examiner reports, property transfer documents, and probably some kind of galactic authority verification that these aliens are legally allowed to commit genocide." Ji-won stopped typing and looked up. "Do they have legal authority for genocide?" "Good question," Hana said. "Add that to the message. Ask them to provide documentation of their legal authority to destroy human civilization." On the Mars Defense Station, technician Kang Do-yeon was having his own problems with the alien invasion. As the person responsible for all quantum communication arrays in the system, he was getting hundreds of messages every hour. Most were from Earth asking for updates about the aliens. Some were from outer colonies asking if they should evacuate. And a few were from the aliens themselves, who seemed very confused about human responses to their death threats. The latest alien message had arrived 20 minutes ago. It was the same basic threat as before, but longer and with more details. About burning cities and killing children, Do-hyun had forwarded it to all the relevant departments and was now working on his response. "Let me see if I understand this correctly," Do-hyun said to his computer while typing. "You want to destroy human civilization because we are weak and pathetic. But you are giving us 72 hours to think about it first. This seems like poor planning on your part." He deleted that sentence and tried again. "Thank you for your message about destroying humanity. We appreciate the advance notice. However, your timeline creates some logistical problems for us." That sounded better. Do-hyun continued typing. "Destroying 8 billion people will require significant coordination between multiple agencies. Our death processing department alone will need at least 6 months to prepare the proper paperwork. Additionally, many of our staff members have personal commitments during your proposed timeline." He paused and looked at his calendar. His sister was getting married next weekend. His mother's birthday was the following Tuesday. His vacation to the beach was scheduled for the month after that. "We respectfully request a delay of your invasion until a mutually convenient time," Do-hyun typed. "We have prepared a scheduling application that will allow you to book your preferred apocalypse time slot. The link is attached to this message. Please note that weekends and holidays have limited availability." Do-hyun attached the link to the Earth Defense Force scheduling system. It was the same system they used for coordinating military exercises and supply deliveries. He had modified it slightly to include options for planetary destruction, species extinction, and galactic conquest. He sent the message and went back to his other work. 15 minutes later, he got a message from the scheduling system. Someone had actually used the link to book a time slot. Vorthak Empire, species extinction request, Tuesday 2 hours p.m. to 4 hours p.m., catering required. Yes, special requests. Please provide comfortable seating for 50,000 invasion troops. Do-Yun stared at the booking confirmation. The aliens had actually used the scheduling system, and they wanted catering for their invasion. He forwarded the booking to the appropriate departments and added a note. Please confirm availability of catering services for 50,000 alien troops. Also check if our conference facilities can accommodate this group size. On the Vorthak flagship, Warlord Krex was having the worst day of his military career. His communication officer had just handed him the latest message from the humans. It was 47 pages long. What is this? Krex demanded. It appears to be a form, sir, said Communication Officer Grex. Form XK-9000. Application for species extinction. Krex looked at the first page. At the top it said, UN Death Processing Department. Species Extinction Documentation Package. Below that were dozens of empty spaces asking for information. Applicant. Krex read aloud. Applicant species home planet. Legal authority for extinction request. Preferred method of extinction. Estimated timeline. Required supporting documents. There is more, sir, Grex said nervously. Page 12 asks for our insurance information. Page 23 wants a detailed environmental impact assessment. Page 31 requires 3 character references. Character references? Yes, sir. They want to know if we are responsible enough to handle a species extinction properly. Krex threw the papers across his bridge. This is insane. We are a conquering army, not bureaucrats. Sir, there is also this, Grex said. He handed Krex another message. They sent us a scheduling application, and, well, some of the crew already used it. They did what? Lieutenant Vrex booked us a time slot for Tuesday afternoon. He said the human scheduling system was very user-friendly. Also, he requested catering. Krex stared at his communication officer. He requested catering for our invasion? Yes, sir. Apparently there is an option for that. The humans want to know if we prefer sandwiches or a hot meal. Also, do any of our troops have dietary restrictions? Across the bridge, Navigation Officer Zrex was reading another message on his console. Sir, we just got a message from something called the Mars Terraforming Authority. They want to know if our invasion will damage the atmosphere processors. If so, they need advance notice to shut them down safely. And this one, said Weapons Officer Brex, holding up his own tablet. The Earth Insurance Bureau wants to know if our planetary destruction is covered under their standard galactic invasion policy. They say claims processing can take 6 to 8 weeks. Krex looked around his bridge. Every officer was holding messages from different human departments. There were messages from the Environmental Protection Agency, asking about the ecological impact of burning cities. Messages from the Transportation Department, asking if alien ships needed parking permits. Messages from the Education Ministry asking if alien children would be attending human schools after the conquest. Sir, Grex said quietly, there is one more thing. What now? They sent us an invoice. An invoice for what? Processing fees. For the species extinction documentation package. Apparently it costs 50,000 galactic credits to file the paperwork. They accept major credit cards. Krex sat down heavily in his command chair. In 47 successful conquests, no species had ever sent him an invoice for their own destruction. No one had ever asked him to fill out forms or provide character references or request catering for his invasion. Sir, what should we do? Grex asked. Krex looked at the pile of forms and messages and scheduling confirmations scattered across his bridge. He thought about the 47 worlds he had conquered, with simple threats and overwhelming force. Then he thought about these humans who treated galactic conquest Ambassador Song Hyejin had handled many difficult diplomatic situations in her 20-year career. She had negotiated trade agreements with stubborn mining colonies, resolved territorial disputes between Mars settlements, and once spent 6 months mediating a conflict between Earth and Europa over fishing rights in Jupiter's atmosphere. But she had never been asked to negotiate with aliens who wanted to kill everyone. She sat in her office in the Geneva diplomatic complex, preparing for the most unusual meeting of her life. The Vorthak Empire had requested direct communication, after receiving dozens of forms and scheduling requests from various human departments. Warlord Krex himself would be speaking with her in 30 minutes. "Ambassador, are you ready for the call?" asked her aide, Lieutenant Colonel Lim Kyung-ho. He was a military strategist who had been assigned to help with the alien situation. He approached every problem like a puzzle that needed solving. "As ready as anyone can be for negotiating with genocidal aliens," Hyejin said. She reviewed her notes one more time. "What is our position exactly?" "Well, officially we are supposed to prevent the destruction of human civilization," Kyung-ho said. He opened his tablet and showed her a flowchart he had created. "But I have been analyzing their behavior, and I think they might be more confused than hostile." "What makes you say that?" "Look at this," Kyung-ho said. He pointed to different parts of his chart. "They send death threats, but they give us advance warning. They want to destroy us, but they are willing to negotiate timing. They demand surrender, but they filled out our scheduling forms and requested catering." Hyejin studied the chart. "You think they do not actually want to kill us?" "I think they want to kill us," Kyung-ho said. "But they are not very good at it. This warlord Krex has probably conquered other species that were terrified of him. Humans are not terrified, so his usual methods are not working. So what do you recommend?" "Treat him like any other stressed diplomatic partner," Kyung-ho said. "Listen to his concerns, validate his feelings, and help him find a solution that works for everyone." The communication screen activated and Warlord Krex appeared. He was exactly what Hyejin had expected from his voice. Large, intimidating, with sharp teeth and glowing red eyes. But he also looked tired and confused, like someone who had not slept well in several days. "I am Warlord Krex of the Vorthak."
"Empire," he said. His voice was still deep and threatening, but there was uncertainty in it now.
"You are the human ambassador?" "I am Ambassador Song Hyejin," she said with a warm smile. "Thank you for taking time to speak with us directly. I hope you have been comfortable during your visit to our system." Krex blinked several times. "Comfortable? Well, space travel can be very stressful," Hyejin said. "Have your ships been able to find good parking orbits? Do your crew members need anything? We have medical facilities if anyone needs health care." "We are here to conquer your species," Krex said, but his voice sounded less certain than before. "Yes, I understand that is your current plan," Hyejin said. "But that sounds like it would be very stressful for you and your people. Conquering entire civilizations must be exhausting work." "It is," Krex said automatically. Then he seemed to realize what he had admitted. "I mean, it is the glorious destiny of the Vorthak Empire to dominate weak species." "Of course," Hyejin agreed. "But even glorious destinies can be emotionally challenging. When was the last time you took a vacation, Warlord Krex?" Krex stared at her through the screen. "A vacation? Time off from conquering? Time to relax and enjoy yourself. Mental health is very important, especially in high-stress careers like Galactic Conquest." Behind Hyejin, Kyung-ho was holding up cards with suggested talking points. The current card said, "Ask about his childhood dreams." "Tell me, Warlord Krex," Hyejin continued. "Did you always want to be a conqueror? What were your dreams when you were young?" Krex started to answer, then stopped. "What does this have to do with your surrender?" "Well, we want to understand." "You better," Hyejin said. "If we are going to be conquered, we should know something about our new leaders. What motivates you? What makes you happy?" "Destroying my enemies makes me happy," Krex said, but he did not sound happy when he said it. "Does it, though?" Hyejin asked gently. "You have conquered 47 worlds, but you still seem stressed and tired. Maybe destroying enemies is not actually fulfilling for you. On the screen, Krex opened and closed his mouth several times without making any sound. Behind him, other Vorthak officers were listening to the conversation. They all looked as confused as their leader. "Ambassador," said Lieutenant Colonel Kyung-ho, stepping into view of the camera, "perhaps we could discuss some practical matters while Warlord Krex thinks about that question." "Yes, good idea," Hyejin said. "Warlord Krex, we have been reviewing your invasion requirements and we have some logistical questions." "What kind of questions?" Krex asked. Kyung-ho opened his tablet and began reading. "First, your fleet is positioned near Mars, but most of our population is on Earth. Will you be moving your ships, or do you want us to evacuate everyone to Mars for more convenient conquest?" "We had not thought about that," Krex said. "Second, you mentioned burning our cities. Do you want to burn all of them or just the major ones? Burning every city would take a very long time and use a lot of fuel. It might be more efficient to focus on the top 50 cities and let the smaller ones surrender voluntarily." "That does sound more efficient," Krex agreed slowly. "Third, what are your plans for infrastructure? If you destroy our power plants and communication networks, it will be very difficult to manage 8 billion conquered humans. You might want to consider keeping some systems operational." Krex looked at someone off-screen. "Grex, did we plan for post-conquest infrastructure management?" A voice answered from outside the camera range. "No, sir. We usually just destroy everything and leave." "But if you leave, you do not really conquer the planet," Kyung-ho pointed out. "You just destroy it. Conquest means taking control and ruling over the conquered people. That requires infrastructure." "He is right," Krex said to his off-screen officer. "We cannot rule humans if we destroy all their systems." "Exactly," Hyejin said. "Which brings us to another question. What kind of rulers do you want to be? Harsh dictators? Benevolent overlords? Democratic partners?" "Harsh dictators, obviously," Krex said automatically. "Are you sure?" Hyejin asked. "Harsh dictators have to deal with constant rebellions and resistance movements. That sounds like a lot of work. Benevolent overlords get much better cooperation from their subjects." "But we are supposed to be feared," Krex said, though he sounded uncertain. "You can be feared and benevolent at the same time," Kyung-ho said. He pulled up another chart on his tablet. "Look at this cost-benefit analysis. Harsh conquest with total destruction has very high upfront costs, ongoing maintenance problems, and provides no long-term benefits. Cooperative partnership with voluntary integration has low costs, high stability, and generates ongoing trade revenue." He turned the tablet so the camera could see his charts. "If you work with us instead of conquering us, you get access to human technology, human creativity, and human resources. Plus, we already have experience managing large populations and complex infrastructure. You want us to work with you instead of conquering you?" Krex asked. "Why not?" Hyejin said. "The Vorthak Empire has impressive military power. Humans have strong organizational skills and creative problem-solving abilities. Together, we could probably accomplish much more than either species could alone." "But the other Vorthak would think I am weak if I do not conquer you," Krex said. "Would they?" Hyejin asked. "Or would they think you are smart for finding a better solution? Any warlord can destroy a planet. It takes real skill to turn potential enemies into valuable allies." Krex was quiet for a long time. On the screen, Hyejin could see other Vorthak officers in the background, having whispered conversations among themselves. "Ambassador Song," Krex said finally, "what exactly are you proposing?" "A trial partnership," Hyejin said. "Give us 6 months to show you what humans can offer as allies instead of conquered subjects. If you are not satisfied after 6 months, you can always go back to the original plan of destroying everyone." "And if we agree to this trial, what happens on Tuesday?" Krex asked. "Tuesday we have a party," Kyung-ho said. "Instead of destroying human civilization, we celebrate the beginning of human Vorthak cooperation. We already reserved the catering. UI reserved catering for our conquest celebration. We figured you would want to celebrate either way," Hyejin said. "Whether you conquer us or partner with us, it is still a historic day worth commemorating." Krex looked off screen again. Grex, what do you think? The voice of Communication Officer Grex came through the speakers. Sir, the humans have been very polite and helpful, and their scheduling system is remarkably efficient. I filled out their forms and felt much more organized afterward. What about the rest of you? Krex asked his crew. Several other voices responded. The forms were well designed. Their customer service is excellent. I liked the catering options. They sent me a thank you note for using their scheduling system. Krex looked back at the camera. Ambassador Song, I need to discuss this. With my officers, can we continue this conversation tomorrow? Dr. Bae Suman had been a therapist for 15 years and thought she understood how people dealt with stress and change. She had helped soldiers adjust to civilian life, assisted diplomats with anxiety disorders, and counseled families through difficult transitions. But she had never expected to become the therapist for an entire alien invasion fleet. It started when Communication Officer Grex sent a message to the Earth Psychology Department asking if humans had any techniques for managing feelings of uncertainty about life purpose. The message was polite and carefully worded, like someone who was embarrassed to ask for help but really needed it. Suman had responded with some basic information about stress management and career counseling resources. She thought that would be the end of it. Instead, she got 17 more messages from different Vorthak officers asking about anxiety, depression, identity confusion, and something they called conquest fatigue. Now she sat in her office in Seoul conducting video therapy sessions with alien warriors who were having emotional breakdowns about their life choices. Her current patient was Lieutenant Vrex, who had booked the Tuesday time slot for humanity's destruction and was now having second thoughts about it. Tell me about how you feel when you think about conquering planets, Suman said gently. Lieutenant Vrex appeared on her screen looking very uncomfortable. He was smaller than Warlord Krex, but still intimidating with his sharp teeth and glowing eyes. Except right now his eyes looked sad more than threatening. I used to feel excited about conquest, Vrex said slowly. The battle, the victory, the fear in our enemy's eyes. It felt like purpose. And now? Now I feel tired and confused. The humans are not afraid of us. They are trying to help us. They sent me a thank you card for using their scheduling system. Vrex held up a small card with a picture of flowers on it. It says, "Thank you for choosing Earth Defense Force scheduling services. Your business is important to us." No one has ever thanked me for anything before. How does that make you feel? Suman asked. Strange. Good strange, but still strange. Is it normal to feel happy when someone thanks you? Very normal, Suman said. Gratitude and recognition are basic human needs. It sounds like Vorthak have the same needs. But Vorthak are supposed to be feared, not thanked, Rex said. We are warriors. We conquer and destroy. That is our purpose. Says who? Rex blinked. What do you mean? Who decided that Vorthak are supposed to be feared? Who chose conquest and destruction as your purpose? The Empire, our leaders, our traditions. Vrex paused. But now that you ask, I do not remember anyone ever asking me what I wanted to do with my life. What would you want to do if you could choose anything? Vrex was quiet for a long time. I like organizing things. I am good at making schedules and coordinating complex operations. That is why they put me in charge of invasion logistics. But I think I might like to organize things that help people instead of hurt them. That is a completely valid career change, Suman said. Many people discover new interests and priorities as they grow older. Can I ask you something, Dr. Bae? Of course. Is it normal to feel guilty about things you did in the past? Very normal. What specifically are you feeling guilty about? All the planets we conquered. All the people we scared. We never asked if they wanted to be conquered. We just assumed they were weak and we were strong, so we had the right to take what we wanted. Soman nodded. Recognizing that your past actions may have hurt others is an important step in personal growth. What matters now is what you choose to do with that recognition. I want to apologize. Vrex said, but I do not know how to apologize for conquering someone's planet. Why do not you start with something smaller? Suman suggested. Maybe apologize to one person first, then work your way up to planetary apologies. After the session with Vrex, Suman had back-to-back appointments with other Vorthak officers. Navigation Officer Zrex was having anxiety attacks about the responsibility of piloting ships full of weapons. Weapons Officer Brex was depressed because he realized he had never created anything, only destroyed things. Communication Officer Grex was struggling with social anxiety because he had spent his whole life delivering threats instead of having normal conversations. The most concerning case was Warlord Krex himself, who had requested an emergency session after his conversation with Ambassador Song. Dr. Bay, Krex said when his image appeared on her screen. I think I am having what humans call an existential crisis. Can you tell me more about that? I have spent my entire adult life conquering planets because that is what Vorthak warlords do. But the humans made me realize that I have never asked myself if I enjoy conquering planets. And the answer is no. I do not enjoy it at all. What do you enjoy? I like solving complex problems. I like organizing large groups of people to work together efficiently. I like the planning phase of military operations, but not the actual fighting and destroying. Suman made notes while he talked. Those are valuable skills that could be used in many different ways. But if I am not a conqueror, what am I? My entire identity is built around being feared and respected as a military leader. If I stop conquering planets, who am I? You are still the same person with the same skills and experiences, Suman said. You are just choosing to use those skills differently. The other Vorthak will think I am weak, will they? Or will some of them be relieved that someone finally said what they were all thinking? Krex considered this. Many of my officers have been asking about career counseling lately. Lieutenant Vrex wants to become a logistics coordinator. Navigation Officer Zrex is interested in peaceful space exploration. Weapons Officer Brex asked if humans need help with construction projects. It sounds like your entire crew is ready for a career change. But what will we tell the Vorthak Empire? We were sent to conquer Earth and bring back tribute. If we return empty-handed, they will court-martial us. What if you do not return empty-handed? Soman asked. What if you bring back something more valuable than conquered territory? Like what? Like a new model for expansion. Instead of conquering planets, you could be pioneering a new form of galactic cooperation. You could be the warlord who discovered that partnership is more profitable than conquest. Meanwhile, Captain Ro Junho had started his own unofficial cultural exchange program between human and Vorthak crew members. It began when several Vorthak officers asked if they could visit human facilities to better understand the species they were supposed to conquer. Welcome to Mars Defense Station, Junho said to a group of 12 Vorthak visitors. We thought we would start with a tour of our facilities, then have lunch together so you can ask questions about human culture. The Vorthak group looked nervous and excited at the same time. They had never interacted with other species except to threaten them. This is our main cafeteria, Junho explained as they walked through the station. We serve food from all over, Earth and the colonies. Everyone eats together regardless of rank or department. Everyone eats together? Asked one of the Vorthak visitors. Officers and enlisted personnel? Of course. Why would they eat separately? On our ships, different ranks eat different food in different places, the Vorthak said. Higher ranks. Get better food. That seems inefficient, Junho said, and it would make people unhappy. Happy crews work better than unhappy crews. They continued the tour through the engineering sections, medical facilities, and recreation areas. The Vorthak asked hundreds of questions about everything they saw. Why did humans have so many safety protocols? Why did they paint colorful murals on the walls? Why did everyone seem to know each other's names? Your species is very strange, said one Vorthak officer during lunch. You are not afraid of us, but you are also not trying to attack us. You treat us like guests instead of enemies. Why would we attack you? Asked Engineer Kim Minsu, who was sitting at their table. You have not actually hurt anyone yet. And attacking you would just make everyone upset. But we threatened to kill you all. Yes, but you did not actually do it, Minsu said. People say things when they are stressed or confused. What matters is what you actually do. On our home worlds, threats are the same as actions, the Vorthak said. That sounds exhausting, said Medic Lee Gina. How do you ever relax if you have to treat every threat as real? The cultural exchange continued after lunch with karaoke in the station's recreation center. The Vorthak had never heard music that was meant to be fun instead of intimidating. When Captain Junho sang an emotional ballad about missing his family, several of the Vorthak officers started crying. Why does this song make me feel sad and happy at the same time? Asked one of them. That is what good music does, Junho said. It helps you feel emotions that you might not have words for. We want to try, said another Vorthak. Can you teach us to sing? By the end of the day, a dozen Vorthak warriors were singing Korean pop songs and asking for the lyrics so they could practice. They had also requested permission to bring more officers for the next cultural exchange session. Captain Junho, said the lead Vorthak visitor before they left. Can I ask you something personal? Sure. Do humans ever feel like their lives lack purpose? All the time, Junho said. That is normal. The trick is finding new purposes when the old ones stop working. What if your entire species has been following the wrong purpose for centuries? Then you are very lucky to Tuesday morning arrived with the most unusual celebration in galactic history. Instead of watching their civilization end, humans across Earth and Mars were preparing for the largest diplomatic party ever organized. The catering alone required coordination between 12 different food services, 3 entertainment companies, and a logistics team that had worked non-stop for 36 hours. Commander Lee Taman stood on the observation deck of Mars Defense Station watching Vorthak shuttles dock with human facilities all across the system. 6 months ago, if someone had told him he would be hosting a partnership celebration and formal apology ceremony with aliens who had originally planned to kill everyone, he would have recommended they see a psychiatrist. Sir, the final head count is 53,000 Vorthak and about 2 million humans participating directly, Captain Park Minho reported, plus another billion watching the live broadcast. And everyone has been fed? Taman asked. Fed, entertained, and given welcome gift bags, Minho confirmed. The Vorthak seemed particularly excited about the gift bags. This was true. The welcome gift bags had been Dr. Bae Suman's idea after she learned that most Vorthak had never received gifts before. Each bag contained a small plant, some earth chocolate, a handbook on healthy relationship building, and a certificate welcoming them to the galactic community of cooperative species. Admiral Kim Nara was handling the main ceremony on Earth, while Taman managed the Mars events. The original plan had been much simpler, just a formal announcement of the new partnership and some food. But then Warlord Krex had requested permission to make comprehensive public apologies to every species the Vorthak had ever conquered, and the event had grown considerably. Admiral Nara to all stations, came the announcement over the communication system. We are beginning the formal ceremony now. On screens throughout the system, Admiral Nara appeared standing next to Warlord Krex on a stage in Geneva. Behind them was a banner that read, First Annual Human Vorthak Partnership Day in 17 different languages, including Vorthak. 6 months ago, Nara began, the Vorthak Empire arrived in our system with the intention of conquering humanity. Today, we celebrate the beginning of a new kind of relationship between our species. She gestured to Krex, who stepped forward to the microphone. The massive alien warlord looked nervous but determined. People of Earth and Mars, Krex said, his voice carrying across the system. I stand before you today to offer the formal apologies of the Vorthak Empire for our threats against your civilization. We came here prepared to destroy you because that is what we had always done. You responded with kindness, patience, and an impressive amount of paperwork. Laughter rippled through the crowds at viewing locations across both planets. You offered us scheduling assistance for our own invasion. You provided catering options for the apocalypse. You gave us therapy for our emotional problems and cultural exchange programs to help us understand your way of life. In 6 months, you have shown us more genuine care and respect than we have experienced in centuries of conquest. Krex paused and looked directly into the camera. The Vorthak Empire formally renounces conquest as a method of expansion. We request permission to join the galactic community as partners and allies rather than conquerors. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause. On Mars Defense Station, Taman watched his crew celebrate with their Vorthak visitors. Lieutenant Vrex, who had become the station's unofficial logistics coordination specialist, was showing human technicians his new filing system for interdepartmental requests. "Commander Taman," came a voice behind him. He turned to see Dr. Choi, Hana approaching with a tablet and a satisfied expression. "Dr. Choi, how did the paperwork situation work out?" "Beautifully," Hana said. "Instead of processing 8 billion death certificates, we processed 53,000 citizenship applications. Much more pleasant paperwork." "And the Vorthak adapted well to our bureaucracy?" "They love it," Hana said. Apparently, their old system had no paperwork at all. They just conquered planets and moved on. They find our documentation and filing systems very soothing. Warlord Krex specifically requested copies of all our administrative procedures. Meanwhile, Ambassador Song Hyejin was conducting the afternoon session of the ceremony, which focused on practical matters of the new partnership. The Vorthak had officially become the first alien species to join the United Earth Alliance, but the details of integration were complicated. The Vorthak have offered to share their advanced propulsion technology in exchange for human expertise in administration, psychology, and social organization, Hyejin announced. Additionally, they have requested permission to establish cultural exchange programs with all member worlds of the Alliance. This had been Lieutenant Colonel Lim Kyung-ho's idea. His cost-benefit analysis had shown that the Vorthak's military technology combined with human organizational skills could benefit everyone involved. The Vorthak got better systems for managing their society, humans got access to faster-than-light travel, and the galaxy got its first example of successful conquest to partnership conversion. Furthermore, Hyejin continued, the Vorthak have volunteered to serve as mediators for other aggressive species that might threaten Alliance worlds. Who better to negotiate with conquerors than former conquerors who have found a better way? This announcement got the biggest applause of the day. The idea of reformed alien warriors helping other species avoid the mistakes of conquest appealed to everyone's sense of justice. Dr. Bae Suman was running the mental health and wellness portion of the ceremony. Over the past 6 months, she had expanded her practice to include 47 Vorthak officers and had published the first academic paper on interspecies therapy for career transition and identity crisis. The Vorthak integration process has taught us valuable lessons about the importance of purpose and identity in mental health, Suman explained to her audience. When individuals or entire cultures feel trapped in destructive patterns, the solution is not punishment but rather support for finding healthier alternatives. She gestured to a group of Vorthak officers who were sitting in the front row. These individuals have successfully transitioned from careers in conquest to careers in cooperation. Lieutenant Vrex is now our system logistics coordinator. Navigation, Officers Rex leads our deep space exploration program. Communication Officer Grex heads our new interspecies diplomatic corps. And what about Warlord Krex? Someone called from the audience. Warlord Krex has accepted the position of Director of Galactic Wellness and Conflict Resolution, Suman said with a smile. He will be helping other aggressive species work through their own identity crises and find peaceful alternatives to conquest. The title had been created specifically for Krex after he expressed interest in using his military experience to help other species avoid the mistakes the Vorthak had made. It was the first time in galactic history that a warlord had been promoted. To Wellness Director. Captain Ro Junho had organized the entertainment portion of the celebration, which featured performances by both human and Vorthak artists. The Vorthak had discovered they had natural talent for singing emotional ballads, while humans had learned to appreciate Vorthak harmonic compositions that sounded like musical battle cries but were actually love songs. For our final performance, Junho announced, we present a collaborative piece composed by human and Vorthak musicians together. It is called Tuesday is Better, and it tells the story of how a scheduling conflict became the beginning of a beautiful friendship. The song began with deep Vorthak harmonies representing the approaching fleet, then added human melodies representing the bureaucratic response, and finally blended both styles together in a celebration of cooperation overcoming conflict. HFY. The music played. Taman looked around at the mixed crowds of humans and Vorthak celebrating together. Children from both species were playing games, adults were sharing food and stories, and everyone seemed genuinely happy. "Sir?" Minho said, joining him at the observation window. "I have the final statistics from today's event." "How did we do?" "0 casualties, 0 diplomatic incidents, 0 paperwork errors," Minho reported. 53,000 new citizens, processed successfully. 237 formal apologies delivered and accepted. 1 former invasion fleet converted to exploration and assistance fleet, and approximately 12 tons of food consumed. And the scheduling? Everything finished exactly on time. Tuesday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., just as originally planned. Taman nodded approvingly. "Good. I hate it when events run over their scheduled time." As the celebration wound down, Admiral Nara made the final announcement of the day. "The success of human Vorthak integration has attracted attention from across the galaxy," she said. "We have received messages from 17 other species requesting similar partnership programs. It appears that conquest is becoming less popular as a method of expansion." She smiled at the camera. "The United Earth Alliance and the reformed Vorthak Empire are pleased to announce the establishment of the Galactic Cooperation Initiative. Our mission is to help aggressive species find better alternatives to conquest and to prove that cooperation is more profitable than dominate."